In these first strikes, Chris, against Iraq, the U.S. has already used some of its top hardware. Joining us now in our war room to explain what's being used is MSNBC military analyst Colonel Jack Jacobs. Thanks for coming back. And first of all, what about these Patriot missiles? They're so-called new and improved. What do they do, and how well do they do it?
Well, the Patriot was never designed to take down missiles. It was designed as an anti-aircraft weapon, but we threw it into the fray to protect Israel during the last Gulf War, and they had some success, and we realized that if we upgraded it and tweaked it a little bit, we'd be able to have a higher degree of confidence we can knock missiles down, and that's exactly what we've done now.
There was a lot of criticism of it before because it didn't work as well as some had hoped, and now you think it works much better.
Yeah, it works much better, and part of the criticism before is because it got a little bit hyped too much. The expectations were very high, and like I said, it was never designed to take down missiles in the first place.
NBC's Bob Windrum is reporting these weren't Scud missiles, but Al-Samoods, probably Al-Samood 1s, not Al-Samood 2s. Now, the Al-Samood 2s were the ones that the Iraqis were forced to destroy, some 74 of them. However, these Al-Samood 1s, how far do they go, and how many of them do they have?
They only go to about 100 kilometers, and I think they've got solid propellant rather than the liquid propellant of the Al-Samood 2s, which go about 150 kilometers, which they've had to destroy. They have the same warheads, however, and it's just a difference in range.
So,
and as far as how many, they have quite a few. I don't know how many they have, but they have quite a few.
You think, what, you think in the tens?
No, I think in the many dozens.
How many Scuds do they have?
That's difficult to tell.
It's the big question, isn't it?
Yes.
Everybody's got a different answer for this one.
Yeah, some indeterminate number between maybe a dozen and 2 dozen.
This is a weapon of terror in some ways, isn't it? The Scud missile.
Well, anytime, first of all, anytime you throw an explosive device at a civilian population, one can consider it to be a terroristic kind of exercise. But if you're an infantry soldier on the ground, one of the things you fear the most is indirect fire. It's one thing to fire at somebody and have somebody fire back at you. But it's completely different when you're on the receiving end of artillery or missiles or rockets, which is one reason why they're used to great advantage. It's a very, very demoralizing weapon to use.
All right, let's talk about a couple of other things. I got off track for a second with the Scud missiles, but I want to talk about the Tomahawk cruise missiles that were used and the F-117 as well that dropped the 2,000-pound bunker buster bombs.
Yeah, 2,000-pound bunker buster bomb, a great weapon. It's got a delay on it, and it can sense a difference in density between what it hits and the open area inside. And when it gets inside of a bunker, it then explodes, delivering the entire payload to the people or facilities inside, rather than expending it on the outside.
What's the accuracy of something like this?
This thing is accurate down to 1 meter.
1 meter?
Yeah, it would hit you from a distance of 600 miles with no problem.
From 600 miles. But they said that they had to get a picture of the location to help plug it in. I mean, not only GPS, but for the pilot in order to determine exactly what the target was. And
well, it's got a backup navigation system, runs off a GPS, but it's also got an internal navigation system which runs off an internal map and compares its position with its internal pre-programmed map. Otherwise, you punch in a 10-digit grid coordinate, and it follows it all the way to the target using GPS signals.
All right, we know that the F-117s were used to drop the bunker buster. The stealth planes will probably play a major role in this campaign,
I think they will continue to play a major role, especially if we're going to fool around in daytime, which we might wind up doing there, especially to support troops. Here's an animation that shows Flight of 4. They're going to break up into 2 missions of 2 each when they peel off. Radar reflecting, as most people know, very difficult, nearly impossible to pick up with any radar. This shows a SAM installation, but it can be used against any installation, particularly those in the open. And you can see the laser designator being shot down to the target by one of the 2 aircraft, and the weapon riding it down right to the end, the weapon released by the other aircraft.
All right, I have one other question. Before we came on the air, you said Iraqi TV is going on and off the air, and we reported earlier there was some suggestion that the U.S. might be jamming Iraqi TV and radio. If that's the case, how are they doing it?
We have a number of platforms which we put in the air which are designed specifically to do that. And in addition to that, I believe we have the capability not only of jamming the signals that are coming from places like Iraqi radio and TV, but to replace them as carriers over the original signal with
our own radio
broadcast.
station. Yeah. Something else entirely that we want in there. Is
Psychological operations, it's a natural extension of dropping all these leaflets all over the place and telling guys they ought to give up, which they're starting to do. This is a great psychological weapon on a battlefield that's as much combat is as much psychological as it is anything else.
Well, Jack Jacobs is one of the people with a lot of military experience helping explain all of this to us. Very complicated stuff. Jack, thanks very much.
You're welcome.